And today I'm going to do an example for writing prompt number 2. The prompt tells us to write about a time when you felt embarrassed. So if you're struggling with this writing, please pull up the template that I've given you guys. Everything in blue is going to give you directions for how to proceed. And then there are sections where it'll tell you to type here and you'll type in your own words. Once you're done, you'll go back, delete all the blue parts, and you will have a really quality paragraph. So remember, this is a short narrative writing about one paragraph. Okay, so let's go ahead and go over some of the things that we want to make sure we're doing in a personal narrative writing. So as you write, you want to pay attention to using I and me. This is a personal narrative, so you should use I and me in this type of writing. You want to make sure you're using complete sentences that have a subject and a verb. You want to make sure you start every sentence with a capital letter, end every sentence with punctuation, and capitalize the pronoun I. Make sure you're using descriptive words and that you're using them correctly and they have the right meaning that you want to convey. All right, so first off, I have to kind of make some decisions about what I want to write about. So for the last video that I made, I wrote about this sort of painful, upsetting thing that happened to me in the 5th grade. This time, I think I just need a break from heavy emotions, so I'm going to write about something funny and embarrassing. So you may write about something that's really, really embarrassing that like messed you up mentally. Or you can take a lighter approach and write about something that's embarrassing but kind of funny. Like, that's what I'm going to do. So I think I'm going to write about the time when I was thinking I looked all cute in the 8th grade and I went to my grandparents' 50th anniversary at this restaurant and I got the front of my skirt tucked in my pantyhose and like walked through the restaurant like that. It's a great story. I still sort of feel horribly embarrassed when I think about it, but it's still kind of funny. All right, so let's describe the setting. I need to give some background information. So I know that just because I've told stories before, that the skirt getting stuck in the pantyhose and me not noticing, for that to actually come across as funny, I need to build up in the beginning like how cute I thought I looked, because that's what's actually going to make a contrast and make this a humorous piece. So I need to go back and give information about the skirt and how cute I thought I looked and talk about how we were at this restaurant for my grandparents' anniversary. So I'm going to do both things in my exposition. So like when I was in the 8th grade, I really wanted this. I think I'm going to use some 80s slang just to like give you a feel for this piece of writing. This totally rad. And I'm intentionally using that slang to give you a snapshot of what life was like in 1988. This totally rad, totally awesome, totally expensive. And I'm going to put in brackets $38 because that was like a lot of money in 1988. Pleated skirt from the Gap. This was like back when the Gap was not for old people. This is back when I was young and the Gap was for young people who were cool. Pleated skirt from the Gap. It was green plaid rayon with about 1,000,000 tiny pleats that took approximately, and I'm going to use some hyperbole here on purpose, just to like add some more humor. I really want to signal that I'm using humor. Approximately an hour and 7,023 minutes, which to iron before wearing. Now, I'm using exaggeration. Like, obviously, that would just be like days and days, right? But I want to signal humor. And I'm seeing I'm getting a grammatical error. It was made of green plaid rayon. Yeah, I think that'll work. Okay, that fixed my grammatical error. Now, some people like to wait till the end to do that. I kind of like to fix it as I go. And so now I think I kind of like to smush together like my setting and my characters. So if you're somebody who does better, like this is my setting, this is my characters, You might type it in two places, but I think I'm just going to do it all up here together. On the afternoon of my grandparents' 50th wedding anniversary, I was wearing, and I'm intentionally capitalizing this, calling it the skirt, because I want it to be funny and show like that I thought that the skirt was really important. I was feeling great. I'd never looked better. Okay, so let's read it and just make sure I got my exposition. When I was in the 8th grade, and I think I'm going to add that it was 1988 so you can really appreciate the time. So when I was in the 8th grade, 1988, I really wanted this totally rad, totally awesome, totally expensive, $38 pleated skirt from the Gap. It was made of green plaid rayon with about 1 million tiny pleats that took approximately an hour and 7,023 minutes to iron before wearing. On the afternoon of my grandparents' 50th wedding anniversary, I was wearing the skirt. I was feeling great. I'd never looked better. Okay, so there's my background information. I feel like I've got it. I feel like I can go ahead and just delete this so I don't have to worry about it later. Because I've got the characters, I've got the setting, I've got some background information. Okay, rising action number 1. Now, I know that my climax is like the skirt is caught in the pantyhose and like everybody can see my underwear in this restaurant. But I have to talk about how we got there. So I'm going to talk about the whole family was gathered at Mrs. Peters' chicken restaurant. It was actually a chicken shack. Chicken shack to celebrate. All of my aunts and uncles and cousins were there. Both sets of grandparents came. Actually, I don't like the way that sounds. I think I'm just going to leave it like that because it's implied that my grandparents were there because it's their wedding anniversary. Okay, so midway through the meal, through the celebratory dinner, the fancy dinner. And see, notice I'm running through and I can't quite figure out what I want to say. It's a myth that teachers just sit down and are like awesome at this. So midway through the special meal, and I'll see if I feel like that feels repetitive, I excused myself to use the ladies' room. Let's see. Before I left the bathroom, this is what makes it so funny. I took special care to check my giant mall bangs and hot pink lipstick to make sure oops, typo. I'm not going to catch it now. To make sure I looked perfect before going back to the table. Okay, so now I need to get to my climax and resolution. I feel like I could almost put a little more in the rising action. I think I'm going to add a little bit more here because I feel like the climax is like the realization that my underwear is hanging out, but I like need to tell a little more before I get there. So as I walked through the restaurant, like tables full of geriatric diners stared at me. It had to be because I was looking so awesome in my new skirt. I didn't even feel the cool air conditioning blowing down the front of my body. Okay, so now I've led up to it. So when I got back to the table, my cousin Amy was laughing hysterically. She couldn't even talk. All she could do was point at my lower body. I looked down. The skirt, I think I'm going to go back and kind of repeat that because I thought it was humorous. The skirt was tucked into my sheer black pantyhose, and my hot pink underwear was on display for everyone to see. And I'm going to clarify, the diners hadn't been staring because I looked so fly, because that's another thing you would say back then, to fly. They were staring at my underwear. Okay, what did I learn about myself from that experience? Maybe that I should have some humility and not just assume that everyone's looking at me because I look so good. Maybe I'll just say I learned the hard way to check the obvious stuff before I check the little details. Okay, I feel pretty good about it. Congratulations, I've written my rough draft. So what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to go through and all the blue parts, I'm going to get rid of them. So I think I'm actually going to do this a different way. Like you would just go through and you would delete all of the blue parts. I think what I'm going to do, just because I want to be able to post this whole example, is I'm going to go ahead and just copy and paste it down to the bottom. You would just delete everything, but I want to keep this together. So there's a part. I'm going to go and copy my first rising action. And I'm just going to add it. Notice I'm not making like a whole new line, like I'm making a paragraph. Oh, excuse me. I'm going to copy that part, Command-C, copy down here. And notice I'm not starting a new line every time. We're down to this part. I'm going to copy it, Command-C. And last bit. And I could have probably expanded this out. Now, I think I'm going to look at it and just see if there's a place I think I should start a new paragraph, because I feel like mine's kind of long. I kind of feel like here, the part where I actually go to the bathroom, that could be a new paragraph. And notice I'm indenting the start of each paragraph. I kind of feel like there's another place I could start a new paragraph. Okay, I feel like that's good. I ended up with multiple paragraphs. I could have given less detail and just had one. So what I would do at this point is I would take the information I did here. I would copy the whole thing. I would paste it into the document I'm turning in for Ms. Miller, Ms. Simpson's class, and I would submit. All right, so hopefully that gave you a little bit of guidance about how you can approach this assignment.